And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other. And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
Just when it felt like the woke wave was dying down, Rachel Zegler, the star of Disney's Snow White remake, brings it roaring back. These days, promoting a movie seems to come with a side of activism, where every interview turns into a lecture about how the past got it all wrong. But Bill Maher isn't one to stay quiet. When he sees this kind of thing, he calls it out fast. Today, we're looking at his no-nonsense reaction to the Snow White controversy, a film now caught in the middle of a culture clash. Let's get into what happened and why it's causing such a stir.
And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other.
Before we roll the clip, here's a quick update for anyone out of the loop. Rachel Zegler plays Snow White, and Gal Gadot is the evil queen. But just before the film's release, Zegler made some comments that sparked major backlash online. Things got so tense that even Gal Gadot got dragged into it, and Disney had to step in. When Zegler was later asked about the controversy, she only made it worse. That sets the stage for the clip you're about to watch. Now let's get back to Bill Maher's no-holds-barred reaction.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
And honest golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, there's 7 of them.
That has, and there's 7 dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right.
Maybe the so-called progressives should admit some of this is actually going backward. Take Snow White, for example. We all loved the original, and no one back then was pushing a social agenda. Now Disney won't even cast real dwarfs. They used CGI instead to avoid offending anyone. But that choice took jobs away from actors who really need them. That's Disney's version of inclusivity. Fewer roles, more virtue signaling, and it doesn't stop there. Here's Rachel Zegler talking about being woke. Brace yourself. It gets awkward.
Can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all. And for Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
Did you hear the sarcasm in her voice? That little dig at Gal Gadot? It was clear. To Zegler, Gal stands for old-school values, and that's something she wants gone. Zegler seems to see herself as the face of this new, woke wave. But here's the issue. It's not just out of touch, it's harsh. Anyone who pushes back is treated like an enemy. We'll get into that more in a second. But first, here's another clip of Zegler sounding off again.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows?
I warned you, it's cringy. Snow White was once just a fairy tale, but now it's being turned into a political statement. The prince is now labeled problematic, and what was a love story is now seen as oppression. The push to rewrite everything for a certain agenda is hurting the movie industry. Instead of focusing on storytelling, studios are checking boxes. Rachel Zegler's not new to controversy. After Trump's win, she tweeted that his supporters should never know peace. Now the movie is failing at the box office, having earned just $96 million of its $270 million budget. Experts say it needs $500 million to break even, but it's not looking good.
Do we have a moment for Rachel Zegler and Snow White? Because there is an update in that story today. There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece. Was it Variety? Talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
Rachel Zegler seems to be a big problem for Disney, dragging Snow White into disaster. If only they had focused on making a fun movie instead of pushing a political agenda. Now, they've got a film no one wanted and a looming box office failure. People go to the movies for entertainment, not lectures. Disney seems to have realized the damage Zegler caused, so they had her release a weak apology video. Take a look.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
The woke crowd will say anything to save face when the money starts drying up. But does anyone believe Rachel Zegler or Disney actually regret their actions? Not at all. They're just sorry they got caught. They haven't reflected on their mistakes. They're probably doubling down, thinking the audience doesn't get it. If Disney keeps this up, bankruptcy might be on the horizon. People want entertainment, not political lectures. If Disney keeps prioritizing wokeness over storytelling, they'll keep losing fans and money. That's all for today's video. If you liked it, hit like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.